So the show I'm currently watching is, I would say, probably one of the most. It's probably, how do I say this? It's not my favorite TV show that I've ever watched.
Okay.
But it is the best TV show that I've ever watched.
Interesting.
And you might be like, what? How does that work?
Gasp.
I will say it's probably in my top 10.
Okay.
Right? It's called The Pacific. It's an older TV show.
The Pacific.
I think it came out in 2012.
Okay.
2010 maybe. One season, 10 episodes long, an hour and change per episode, so like decent amount of content there. It's about right after Pearl Harbor.
Oh yeah.
And the Marines who go and start fighting in the Pacific Theater, in all the Japanese controlled territories. And it follows a bunch of different characters, and they all kind of have their own storylines throughout, and it is the most brutal and eye-opening and emotional show I have probably ever watched.
It's Band of Brothers, but in the Pacific Theater. Then that's kind of what that's sounding like.
Yeah, it's not as much, because Band of Brothers has like a little bit of a documentary feel.
Definitely, but it is because like you're following each of their stories.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as much like a documentary. It feels like
dramatized, but while still being historical.
So it is historical. Yeah. So some of all of the characters that you are named characters are like
real people,
and like, oh, that character who in the show won the Medal of Honor, you look it up, he won the Medal of Honor for the battle that they gave him the Medal of Honor in.
Cool, right? Yeah,
it's like,
I like it.
And so I finished the 8th episode, and I had to take a break because the 8th episode almost made me bawl like a child.
Just that brutal, or
oh my gosh,
yeah,
ugh, and like the actors are just out of this world, insanely good.
Yeah, they're depicting World War II.
They are so good, and there's like so much emotion that you understand, even though they're not crying. It's the TV show that exemplified what men go through to a T.
Yeah, okay.
Regardless of whether it's in war or whether it's just
conflict
or whatever, right? It is. I would 100% recommend it. It is a 10 out of 10 TV show.
The Pacific.
It is the highest ranking TV show. Like I said, I don't know if it's my favorite TV show ever because I've watched some pretty good TV shows. I'm very partial to Peaky Blinders, for example.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great TV show as well, but I don't think it's a perfect TV show.
Yeah.
This show I think is perfect.
Feels perfect.
I have no notes.
No criticism.
No notes. No notes other than you have to go watch it.
You're like, I'm going to sit down and take some notes. And by the end, it's just, you're like drawing Iwo Jima and they're raising the flag or whatever.
Like, and it feels,
that's all I got.
It's really cool because it feels patriotic and it feels anti-war.
Yeah.
It feels pro-war at the same time. It runs the gambit of like the feelings.
Yeah, exactly. If they do it so well, you feel like you're learning war, but then as you said, you're also experiencing their emotions in that time. Like,
yes,
that's cool.
I will say, graphic show.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be. If it's a real historical,
the most graphic TV show I've ever watched.
Yeah. Okay.
The most graphic TV. It looks so real. It
was 10 years ago. I wonder if it ever aired on TV.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it did or not.
Right, because they might not have gotten away with that.
Let me tell you,
maybe HBO.
This might be a little bit too personal, but for someone who's seen a decent amount of people die, equals.
Yeah,
like
takes
equals
cake,
right? Like it's crazy the accuracy, and it's crazy the ability for them to depict how soldiers reacted in that situation and how normalized the violence became.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Yeah. Some war movies and shows definitely do that pretty well. That is something that I think is important to see.
So if you're looking for a new show, it's on Netflix.
The Pacific.
10 episodes. I normally suggest watching most TV shows at a expedited speed. Yeah. I wouldn't. This one, I think you need to just spend the 10 hours, 10 and a half hours.
Sit down, enjoy it.
Yep. and it's really good because there's these little, not side stories, I wouldn't say, but small tangents that they take, and it incorporates this like really beautifully written like love story of like a soldier falling in love with like a girl he's met while on leave in Australia.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
And then
that's real too. Like
and then like the heartbreak that comes along with it because he's getting deployed again, and they don't know if he's coming back. And,
exactly.
All this other stuff, and it's like every time you're like, I like this character a lot, and guess what? The next episode he could just be murdered
because that's real. That's probably what actually happened. Like that is brutal.
And many characters die, and then you get introduced into a new character, and it's like, maybe he's not gonna live, and you're like, I kind of want this guy to live, and then he does or doesn't, and it's
okay, yeah, that is obviously reminding me of like Band of Brothers watching the first time.
Sure.
That is
it is very similar. Right. It does.
So it's getting me excited because I like Band of Brothers. So
I haven't finished Band of Brothers, unfortunately.
That's another long one.
Yeah, I will say, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. I think anyone who has any enjoyment of war shows should watch this show. I think everyone who is over the age of 17 should watch this show.
Disclaimer.
I think it's an eye-opening TV show.
Yeah.
And I think it is masterfully done. I think it is a perfect TV show.
Cool. I'll probably be giving it a watch. I'll go look it up.
I will say, there are some moments of CGI where you're like, that was CGI.
That was 2012 CGI.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not. It doesn't just distract from it, right? But I was like, there's in the 8 episodes I've watched so far, there's only one moment where I was like, The rest of it, I'm like, this is real.
Cool.
So
cool.
Again, I'm a broken record.
The Pacific.
Everyone needs to watch it. The Pacific. 10 out of 10 TV show. It's literally perfect.
It's nice.
Like
I like seeing that real depiction. I think the last one I probably saw similar to that. Not to, I don't know, pivot away from the lightness, but Godzilla -1. If you haven't seen it, I know it sounds like a Godzilla movie, but I liked the realistic depiction of a veteran, like in post-war World War II. It was a phenomenal story, just seeing the destruction of war, and you really feel like you get into the emotions of that time period. So that's what that reminded me of, like getting into the emotions of the soldiers during World War II. That's cool. That's cool to see.